She stood in my driveway, red-faced and trembling, clutching her phone like it was a weapon. "He's stealing my car! Hurry, send someone now!" she screamed into 911, pointing at the sedan sitting inside my garage. I froze for a second, holding the garage remote in my hand, watching her performance. The neighbors peeked through their curtains, some even stepped outside, their eyes bouncing between me and her like they were watching a live drama. Karen's voice carried through the street. "He broke into my garage and took my brand new car! Arrest him!" My jaw tightened. That car wasn't hers. It was the one I had bought last year, title and all, sitting exactly where it belonged. I took a slow breath, my hand gripping the remote a little tighter. She marched closer, waving a crumpled paper in her hand. "This is my bill of sale. This garage is part of HOA property, and so is the car inside." Her words were sharp, designed to cut, but every neighbor looked confused. Inside, my pulse stayed steady. I wasn't just an ordinary homeowner, and she had no idea who she was screaming at. The cops would come soon, but they wouldn't see me as the criminal she was painting me to be. Because in this case, she had just stepped into her own trap. Within minutes, the flashing red and blue lights bounced off the houses, and 2 officers stepped out. Karen ran toward them like she had been rescued from a burning building. "That's him!" she shouted, pointing at me. "He broke into my garage and stole the car I just bought yesterday." Her voice cracked with fake desperation. One of the officers looked at me calmly. "Sir, can you explain what's going on?" Before I could even speak, Karen shoved the crumpled paper into his chest. "Here's the proof. It's my car, and he's hiding it in there." I finally spoke, slow and measured, letting each word hang in the air. "Officer, that garage is attached to my house, and that car?" I clicked the key fob in my pocket, the sedan beeped, and its lights flashed. "It's mine." The neighbors gasped. Karen froze, but quickly tried to recover. "He hacked the keys. He's lying. I paid cash for that car." Her eyes darted nervously as the officer raised a brow. The second cop walked over to the garage door, eyeing the license plate. "Ma'am, this plate is registered to him, not you." Karen's lips parted, but no sound came out. I stayed quiet, watching her squirm, because I knew something she didn't. This wasn't the first time she had pulled a stunt like this, and tonight, everything was about to catch up with her. Karen's act started to crack as the officers exchanged a look. Still, she wasn't ready to back down. "Check my documents! The HOA approved this purchase. He forged the registration," she barked, waving the wrinkled paper like it was the Constitution. One officer sighed and carefully unfolded it. His eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, this isn't a bill of sale. It's an HOA parking violation notice." The neighbors chuckled under their breath, whispers spreading like wildfire. Her face flushed crimson, but she doubled down. "That's because the HOA owns the garage, which means the car is mine by association. He can't just—" I finally stepped forward, pulling out a slim folder I had kept ready for weeks. "Officers, you might want to see this." I handed them copies of the car title, my property deed, and most importantly, 2 written complaints I had filed with the HOA board for harassment. The taller officer glanced at his partner. "So, not only does he own the car, but he's already reported you twice for this behavior?" His voice was firm now. Karen's mouth opened, but no excuses came out. She looked like a cornered animal. The crowd was eating it up, and I could feel every eye on us. Karen had started this war to humiliate me, but she had no idea the real twist hadn't even arrived yet. Karen's voice cracked as she tried to salvage what was left of her performance. "He's lying! He fakes paperwork! He's dangerous! You have to arrest him before it's too late!" Her hands shook, but not from fear, more from the rage of being cornered in front of everyone. The shorter officer crossed his arms. "Ma'am, calm down. Nothing here shows this car or garage belongs to you." His tone was clipped, professional, but you could hear the disbelief dripping through. That's when I leaned closer,
lowering my voice just enough for everyone around to hush. "Officer, would you like to know something interesting? She didn't just harass me. She tried to use fake cops on my wife last month. I have the footage." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The taller officer turned sharply to Karen. "Fake cops? Is that true?" Karen stammered, her hands flailing. "No, he's twisting things. He's making this up." I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the video file. "Here, see for yourself." The screen lit up with crystal clear footage. Karen standing in my driveway, shouting orders at two men in dollar store uniforms, demanding they tow my truck. The officers leaned in, their faces hardening with every second of playback. The taller one muttered, "Impersonating law enforcement. That's a felony." Karen's face drained of color. For the first time that night, she went silent. And I knew the real takedown was only beginning.
The silence was thick, broken only by the faint buzz of crickets in the summer night. Karen's jaw trembled as the officers stepped back, their eyes locked on her like predators circling prey. The taller one spoke first, his voice sharp. "Ma'am, do you realize what this video shows? You attempted to use fake officers to intimidate your neighbor. That's a serious crime." Karen's head snapped around, desperate to find an ally among the neighbors. "You all know me. You know I'd never—" "He's the liar here." But nobody came to her defense. Some shook their heads, others whispered to each other. One neighbor muttered just loud enough, "Finally, she's getting what she deserves." I folded my arms, keeping my voice steady. "She's been terrorizing this street for months. False notices, threats, calling 911 every other week, and now she's trying to steal my car on top of it." The shorter officer held up a hand. "We'll need to make some calls. Dispatch, run a check on the HOA complaints tied to this address." His radio crackled, and within seconds the truth poured out. 3 separate homeowners had filed harassment claims against Karen in the past year. Her knees buckled. "They're all against me? No, this is a setup. You can't all hate me," she cried out, but her voice had lost the fire. I watched her crumble, but deep down I knew this wasn't just about her harassment anymore. She had crossed into something bigger, and the officers weren't about to let it slide. Karen's mask finally slipped, and what came out wasn't confidence anymore. It was panic. She stumbled backward, clutching her phone like it could still save her. I'll call the HOA president right now. He'll clear everything up," she shouted, her voice shrill. The taller officer didn't flinch. "Go ahead, ma'am, but you should know. HOA authority doesn't override state law, and it sure doesn't give you the right to claim someone else's property." She fumbled with her phone, dialing furiously. The call went through on speaker, and the president's groggy voice answered. "Karen, what is it now? It's almost midnight." "Tell them," she begged. "Tell the police the garage and car are HOA property, not his." There was a long pause, then a sigh. "Karen, stop. That's his house, his garage, his car. We've told you before, you don't run this neighborhood." The president's tone was tired, fed up. "And if you keep dragging the HOA into your personal fights, we'll have no choice but to remove you from the board." The color drained from her face. She ended the call immediately, but the damage was done. Every neighbor had heard it. I leaned against the garage frame, letting the words hang in the night air. "Looks like your own team just disowned you." Her eyes burned with fury, but behind that fire was fear. She knew she was cornered, and still, something told me she wasn't done fighting.